Your neighbor tells you about the unstable man in the cul-de-sac who claims to have been abducted by aliens. And then there's the woman in town who claims to see Bigfoot all the time. Your boss, who you greatly admire, confides in you that he has started speaking with his wife daily when he gets home from work. She died 8 years ago. It's hard to believe this stuff, and you write these stories off as overactive imaginations. Are these people seeking attention, or are they a bit unstable? No matter what you think, if you're like me, you walk away wondering, what if that was true? The What If It's True podcast features stories by ordinary people like you and me. Something has happened to them, something so strange they are in agony unless they tell others. My name is Cameron Buckner, and the What If It's True podcast is available at whatifitstruepodcast.com and on all available podcast apps.
Welcome to Beast TV. What was that? You better get a fresh dip and buckle up. Welcome to Beast TV. We're so glad everybody's in here. It's good to see everybody that's in our chat room, and whether if you're watching now or if you come in later or if you watch us at another time during the week, we appreciate each and every one of y'all. I need to address something. And I will never break my finger off pointing at somebody. So I will not use names. But as many of y'all know, that Woodwalkers is hosting a camp out first weekend in April. Now, there are a lot of people coming, and I got a phone call last night that there was a podcast, and they gave out the location, they gave out the dates, they gave out everything, and that's not a good thing to do. We need to be discreet about where we're going to be meeting at. I know the last couple of meet and greets that Shelley has kind of been the one that took the bull by the horns, and the location wasn't handed out until like 3 days before. Just because we wanted to make sure that everybody that was coming, they knew the general area where it was going to be, but they didn't get the maps till about 3 days before. And there is a reason for that. When you have a meet and greet, you don't know who the trolls are. And if it's public information where it's going to be at and what the dates are, then it's very possible that you can get hoaxers in. And I was told that even where Shelley found the trackways, that we found a couple of years ago, that location was given up this past week. And that's just not something you do. Where our honey holes are, we take people to. Miss Sherry has been there, and Sherry and Misty have taken me to their honey holes, and it's just something that you don't share. You're not going. It's just like if you was to post the GPS coordinates of it. We're not the only people that research at LBL. There's other groups, there's other people, and so you're not only running it for us, but you're running it for them, and it makes us look bad. So, and I don't think it was anything malicious about it. I just think that it was something that they don't think about. To give you an example, a research partner of mine, we are researching an area in Arkansas on private land where activity is going on. And so me and this person will be the only ones knowing the coordinates of it. And that's just so important. If you, it's like if you were to go deer hunting, and if you told somebody where your spot was, and then 3 months later you go in to hunt your spot, and there's people all around that spot because somebody couldn't keep their mouth shut. Martin Groves has taken me to the locations where he had things happen. And I'm not going to give up those spots. Though I'm out of respect, to Martin, I'm just not going to give up the spots. Same thing. Sherry has taken me to her spots. I'm not giving up no spots. And like I said, I don't think it's something that somebody does to jab at you. I think people just don't think. Is there anything that you would like to chime in with that, Sherry?
No, the only thing I can think of is, we can only have so many people there, and I don't know what we'll do about that if a lot of people show up that didn't let Spencer know, because of course you want our people to get to come in, and so I don't know. But we're gonna have a good time. We'll have a good time anyway. We'll just take it as it comes.
Yeah. And another thing about it, if somebody says that they heard some calls, only thing I can tell you is they might as well have ran it on the news that we were in there, and you don't know who's all coming in there and getting, 1,000 yards away and making calls. And so,
and then come up later and say, "Oh, that was us,"
Yeah. But that's all I wanted to say about this. That's why so many times that we have little small campouts with our friends, and then people get upset. Well, I wasn't invited. Well, you can't have 25 cars going out at night and stopping and making calls or use. You just can't do it. You cannot saturate that area. But I am really excited about being able to have part 2. And I want to thank Mitchell so much for coming on. So y'all have heard me talk enough. So I'm just going to bring Mitchell on.
Thank you for
Mitchell.
having me again. Pleasure.
Man, we've got such a great show tonight. It was a great show 2 weeks ago when Mitchell come on, and he has shared with us some videos. His mom hollered at me today, and we were talking about the whistles, and she said, "You remember the whistles that I sent you when I was in northern Idaho?" And I put them on the spectrogram and all of that. So we're going to be able to compare some stuff, and
that's cool. I'm excited.
I think those Sasquatch in Idaho, I think they're just whistlers. I don't know. You go into different areas, and some you hear tree knocks and some you hear calls, and you go in some places and they're there, but they're quiet. They don't say a lot. But at Idaho, that's saturated with a bunch of whistlers.
Yeah, we got a lively bunch for sure up here, and it's been a pleasure because we think it's 3 different clans that we're actually working with because of the distance of the area is pretty great, and every time that we go back to these areas, it seems like the activity continues as if they're homesteading there. So I'm very excited. I actually didn't get a chance to finish what I was trying to answer. There was a gentleman who asked a question last time. Ray Dahl asked what type of flowers were actually being used. Oh, Mrs. Pardon me. Sorry, I don't know faces and I don't know names. They're names on the computer.
I'm just teasing with you, Mitchell.
Okay, so sorry, but Miss Radall asked what type of flowers were being used, and I never researched the ones that were actually there. I can still do that with the Google search on what type of flowers were there, but the story actually continued of the camping trip, and I jumped down too many rabbit holes before we ran out of time and I got to actually answer the question and finish the story. But I sent in 2 photos of what Jamie actually came home to after the camping trip, and it seemed as if something had definitely followed them home because, and this is going to get a little in detail really quick. So on the hood of Jamie's car was left this. We walked around to everybody on the property and we asked everybody, where did these come from? And did you guys put these flowers on the hood? And nobody knew about it. Everybody denied like everything and stuff. Nobody knew where they were coming from. And if you look closely, you actually see that these haven't been snapped. They've been pulled up by the root as well. So I sent this to my mom and I'm like, are you seeing this? Like Jamie got another bushel of flowers and stuff. And my mom was like, you need to look up what type of flowers these actually are. See if they have any type of use or anything like that on them. And I said, okay, yeah, that's a good idea. So I Google searched this, and you can do it yourself with this image right here. I don't know the name of it. Don't ask me to pronounce it. But it came back with a medicinal usage. And it was for open wounds and sores and for disinfecting bacteria as well. Now, here's where things start getting a little confusing because after I looked that up, it raised a big question because this is the same day, not more than it was either an hour before or an hour after my wife had gone to her surgery appointment. And my wife had been suffering from and still is recovering to this day from a flesh-eating bacteria that turned into a complex fistula. And this has taken many or multiple surgeries to get rid of and stuff. But so it was either before she took off to surgery or after she had come back from surgery, but this was left there. And so that raised the question within the team, who were these flowers for? Were these flowers for my wife who was going to the hospital, or were these flowers still for Jamie because that's Jamie's car? But Trin and I actually had used that car to get up to the camping site as well. So if we were to be recognized, this car would be linked to us then if we were to be recognized. So I am on the side of these flowers were actually gifted to my wife for the condition that she was actually suffering. So to Miss Radall, I hope that answers your question. And that actually concluded all the evidence from that camping trip as well.
Awesome. I don't know if you want to start off with, well, you have a new team member. Why don't you tell us about your new team member before we get into the videos?
Yes, and a happy late birthday to you, Todd. Todd is now going to be our extension into the Yakima range and up to Mount Adams. He's been in this area for, I believe it's been his whole life. And he's always out in the woods. He's always telling us of the stuff that he's been finding and stuff. And he's got this personality about him that is just so peaceful to be around and pleasant to be around, that like we all kind of agreed looking at each other like, yeah, this guy needs to be on our team, because I feel like he's just going to be a magnet too, because he's just that good soul, good natured character. And man, it was such a pleasure having him at Toppenish with us too, because he got to sit in with us before he was even a team member. We had him sit with us and, kind of see, this is the life behind the booth and stuff. So, you're welcome to join. And for his birthday, he decided to join. So we're going to print him out a sweater and get it mailed over to him.
Look, I just saw a great question from Kelly Tour going back to the flowers. And yes. Kelly asked, have you thought about actually applying the herbs they gave you? I guarantee.
I mean, I
have to deal with the infections.
I have actually thought about it, but this is such a complex deal to work with. This isn't an abrasion on your arm. This is something that had us extremely worried for the safety of her leg, if I can put it like that.
Yeah.
So honestly, I went through TCCC training in the Navy and stuff, so I know how to pack a bullet hole. This would be like packing a 357 Magnum. As much as I appreciate the gesture of them wanting to help and stuff, because that actually that eased all of us and making us feel welcome with these two individuals specifically. But I just didn't want a chance, making things worse than what it was. And the hospital bills are stacking up and they're only getting taller. So, yeah.
Yeah. That's something that you would want to know how to do it correctly. Sherry, precisely. That's something we could put Misty on.
Yeah. Diane made a comment there that was good also. She was talking about, I was wondering, like, besides the mental part of it, how were they knowing that, she was, ill? And Diane was talking about, the smell of the infection. So that's a good point too.
Yeah.
Well, I don't want to say my wife stinks or anything like that.
They would smell, anytime there's an infection, an animal. Well, if you're sick and you put your dog on your lap, they'll smell wherever that infection is,
Well, and that's another thing too, is before the surgeries as well. The dogs just were constantly bothering her about it too and stuff. They just would not leave her alone. So, I could imagine with them having a higher sense of smell than we do, that they would be able to recognize sickness or infection right off the bat.
Yeah. Yeah. Man, that's good stuff to talk about and to think about. People in the medical community, could sit there and put their heads together and talk about things, and then maybe you could come up with an experiment.
Right. Yeah. But I love the fact that it even happened though, because it was a friendly gesture. It was gifts back to back to base our whole group and stuff. So, the fact that it even happened was just like, can I say it was such a blessing that this even happened, to know that we've got friends in the woods, basically.
We were talking about the good and the bad, Mark, while you were gone, before we got on. And I think that they definitely had the good ones around their area.
Now, we do have a few accounts of some aggression, but every time that I hear these accounts, it's always out of something that somebody was doing disrespectfully. Like walking into their area and breaking sticks or messing up their hut, or messing up their structures. Even don't mess up the structures. Leave them there. They'll move the structures. They'll do whatever they're going to do to it. They will change. You just watch, but don't mess with the structures, because that right there could be, you don't know what you're handling. You don't know how that person's going to take it. They could see that as their artwork and you just destroyed their portrait. That could be something very personal on that sort of level, or something on a different level. But we do have accounts in our area of aggression happening, and it's usually out of something that, somebody was doing disrespectfully. Now there's the one account with my wife and her friend at Site Delta that is, I guess, kind of stated as an aggressive encounter, because whenever they went there, they went to collect this moss for this terrarium that Autumn had for a tortoise. And whenever they got there, they were like no more than 5 feet out of the car, and they had a branch thrown at them. And then they had another branch thrown at them, not like maybe 30 seconds after that. And so my wife called me up, and I told her to call Mom up and document everything. And so we ended up going out there and investigating and finding that footprint that I had casted, and that cache as well. And it stunk like the worst type of body odor, like somebody who hadn't worn deodorant or taken a shower in well over 2 weeks or so. That real sweet musk, and the whole area was just pungent with this kind of smell. But that is like the closest that we really get to aggression in our area. And we try to keep it as docile as possible, because, we're not there to disturb them. We're there to learn from them. We're there to learn about them. And, if they're curious, maybe they can learn about us too, because you do get the curious ones that like to come in and investigate, and check out your tent and, oh, this thing's like a balloon or like a big bubble. You push on it, it pops right back up, that to me, that is a curiosity thing that they do. I don't think that's something that they do to intimidate people. I think they're playing at that point. But yeah, we've got clans that we've been blessed with that have been very approachable for us, but also still very distant as well. And we try to keep that as neutral as possible without offending anybody, on either side. Eventually we get rocks thrown at us and stuff, that's happened a few times, but every time that, I figure it like this: if you put a rock in a superhuman's hand, how good is he with that rock? Is he going to be a crack shot with it, being able to nail a squirrel up in a tree or a grouse or something? Because I think so. These are people that, these are people that are raised out here, not like we are. They're raised knowing what plants are what. They're raised knowing where to get the best sort of moss and foliage and mushrooms and stuff like that. They know the ins and outs. They know the cheat codes of the forest, basically. And so I figure if they're throwing these rocks at us, they could easily nail us, and they could do it at such a velocity that's going to feel like a bullet too. That's what I imagine. So when these rocks are thrown at us, I feel like they're to either get our attention or to, shoo you away in such a way, because if they want to hit you, they're going to hit you. There's no stopping that.
I absolutely agree. I have encountered where rocks were being thrown, but they were more like pebbles, and they were just hitting. They were just hitting all around us, and it was almost like they were playing a game with us. Because at one place we were standing on dry dirt, and every time one would hit, you'd see the little dust pop up, and I thought, this is somebody messing with us. And so I walked away and I started counting heads. I started making sure that everybody was accounted for, and there wasn't, because it was coming off a sheer cliff over a little river. And
so that's everybody was accounted. Got some velocity to it.
Yeah. I mean, they could have picked up one, the size of a softball and knocked your head off with it if they wanted to. But it was almost like they were just playing a game with us.
Yep.
Let's see. Do you want to start with these video clips now?
Yeah, sure. Absolutely.
Okay. This first one is called Site Delta Cache Examination. And this was a cache discovered in the same location as a previous encounter of a Sasquatch throwing sticks at hikers. And this is in North Idaho. Is there anything that you want to add to that, Mitchell, before we go to it?
The hikers are my wife and her friend Autumn. So
okay. All right. Well, let's play this first one.
I don't smell it anymore.
I don't smell it either, and we're right next to that.
You do? Okay.
You smell it again?
Okay. So we're not here to disturb you. We're not here to hurt you or cause any problems. Thank you for letting us come out in your home. We're here to get rid of the garbage. And we're sorry that our kind have messed up your home.
I want to get closer to this.
It's very long.
There's something in there, like a... No, I'm serious. It's flesh. it looks like a, on camera, it looks like a pine cone, but it looks like a rotten, like, dog's foot.
Ooh. Yeah, it does stink again. Let me see.
I don't want to touch it.
Well, don't touch it.
It's like,
Something rotten.
it looks like a mummified dog's foot. Right there, you see it?
Oh, I see what you mean. It looks like a paw of some kind.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's an old rotten one, but
That was pretty wild.
Yeah, and it got wilder too, because so we ended up looking up this location on Google Maps, right? So you guys saw the trash that was right there. So that was a bag of rotten chicken, and I think it was a open spoiled bag of greens that were freeze greens as well. So, and then you find that dog paw in there too. And what I didn't account for on that video, we looked at it even closer, and you ended up finding a shoulder blade and a collarbone as well from a dog as well. So looking up on Google Maps of this area, there was nobody up above us on this hillside. And this is pretty high up on the hill too. This ended up being private property that we learned of later, and we were escorted off the property from then, and haven't been able to be back since. We're trying to get a hold of the owner to see if we can get back in there and let them know, hey, we're innocent. We're not hunting. We're not doing anything to damage your property or anything like that. We just want to investigate. But yeah, so there was no houses up above it, but there is a whole plethora of houses down below on the lake down below it. And so right there, we all came to that conclusion. Okay, this thing has, or this individual has been going down to these houses, collecting trash and bringing it back up here for storage, or if it's just, going to store it for later, or, wait for it to dry out and then munch on it like jerky and stuff, because that is a thing too. But yeah, we came to the conclusion that this is an individual. It's not a clan. And because of the way that it had reacted and responded was much different than the way that the clans have actually responded to us. The clans are more curious and playful. This thing came off more defensive and get away from me and stuff. So my mom had actually, when she started getting a bit better at her mind speak, she started asking one that we like to call grandmother. She's not actually a grandmother, I guess, but she likes the name that we've given her. So mom was talking with grandmother and asking her about this individual that we had come across. Like, who is he? Who is he part of your clan? Is he part of a different clan? And I don't remember exactly the words that came back, but pardon me. I don't remember the exact words that came back, but it came to the conclusion that he was not part of any clan. And so we started theorizing with this as well. Well, why wouldn't he be part of the clan? And one big thing had popped up in my head. I was talking with Mr. Seward up at Medellin Falls at the Medellin Falls Bigfoot Fest last year. And he told me something that made my jaw drop, that they have laws. And it head just exploded, and all of a sudden my so many questions just came in. Okay, well, it makes sense though, because if they are people, then there's got to be some sort of governing system, because humans don't respond well to anarchy. Every man for himself quickly turns into smaller governments, usually by like warlords or something like that, or tribal and family governments with hierarchy system as well. And this one didn't seem to be a part of anything. So we started questioning, okay, why wouldn't it be part of a clan then? And then I started thinking of the laws that Mr. Seward was actually telling me about. And one of the laws was they're not supposed to take from people. They're not supposed to have any, like, if you're going to drop off a gift for them, you know, don't do any like wrapped food, you know, with plastic and stuff like that. You know, we're supposed to give them, you know, what is natural, what is naturally grown. They recognize it better. They respond to it better. And it'd be just like, let me give you an example for an instance. When you give a toddler his very first candy bar, that toddler will only want that candy bar for the rest of his life until he finally finds out how bad it is for him, and he gets old enough to grow wise to these things. The elders, they know these things. They don't want these things introduced into the clans. So, you know, try to stay away from, you know, the sweets and stuff. If you're going for sweets, you know, a nice orange, banana, or apple, anything natural, that's more acceptable. And this is everything that we have looked into and researched for ourselves. But this individual was bringing up trash and had remnants of somebody's poor dog too. I mean, it could have been a coyote too. I guess we have plenty of coyotes out here too. But there's definitely a dead dog involved with this as well. And so we keep thinking, well, if they're not supposed to take anything from us and this thing keeps plucking out of the trash, I feel like this one's kind of more of a rogue. This one would be more relatable to what you guys experience more with the more aggressive side of things. Because, I mean, if you have nobody, you're basically backed into a corner, and then everything's going to be defensive at that point because you're alone. You're alone. You have nobody to trust. So you don't know who to trust. So you're going to be defensive against anything that comes in your way, I imagine.
Let's see. Let's pull up this second video, and the title on this is Site Delta Precast Footprint Examination. And it's from the same location that the cache was discovered. A trail of exceptional size tracks were also discovered there.
So starting from heel to toe is 16 inches, and then going across.
What I am seeing here is some disturbed moss. So whether it was a deer or something else.
7 inches across.
Down the rock.
And you can see the indentation underneath the stick was rocked, so it was stepped here first, and then the center archway of the foot causing the stick to drop back down full force to stick up like that. Whoa. Oh, Chipmunk says we're here. No, we're not. Wow.
Okay, give us some more details and the backstory.
Man, when we came across these tracks, we walked right over the top of them. We didn't even see them at first, you know. And typically, and you'll see it in these other videos, I'm always looking down too, and I, for some reason, was more concentrated on what was uphill. So we ended up walking right over them, and we discovered the cache first. And so after looking around and stuff, we started coming back down, and then I noticed a heel print. and it was in the deep mud too. I mean, but it was super dried up and stuff, like you guys could see on that video there. And this was an old wash creek too, so it's just it's a little gully that only washes down the rainwater. It's not running all the time. It comes and it goes, and so you see this deep heel impression, and it had rained probably a couple days beforehand too, so this mud had dried up, and that track wasn't too old. I want to say it was within a week old or so. But we found consecutive tracks that were, I think, 37 inches in spread of him walking downhill. Now, that to me tells me, okay, so a 37-inch spread walking downhill, that you're a 3-foot spread walking downhill. I can do that on like a jog. But if we calculate the size of the foot at 16 inches, we're putting this guy sitting right at 7 foot. 7'4" and I imagine he's just on a stroll downhill. He's not even jogging, he's just walking at that point. And then the stride got big all of a sudden to that one perfect print for us that had that stick that was sticking up, and then the impression of where that stick belonged before it had been stepped on right there. It was like everything had come undone in my head, and I was like, I have finally found one after I don't know how many years of looking for them. I've seen them before and they've never left tracks for me. This is the very first track I've ever came across, and not only that, I get a trail of it too. But that one track was the perfect print that was left for us. And it was almost like an intentional, like childlike behavior. There had character to the steps and stuff. Like he was walking where it was obviously soft, and then his spread got big to this one grass clump, and then there was a bunch of like kind of sharp rocks and twigs in between, and he had stepped on that grass clump and then got big again and stepped right perfect where that track was casted right there. And that's all nice. That mud was probably about that deep, and half of that was moss too. So, it was a phenomenal find. And to this day, I still can't believe it even happened, because I mean, it was so close to town too. I mean, you could throw a stone and hit a kayaker, and it's a very public lake. It's a very active lake. I think I mentioned it in the last episode, but I'm not going to say it this time. But it was just so out there. And after we had told people about what we had found and showed that video, and we're spreading awareness around town of what we had found there, and then people are calling BS and stuff, and I showed them the track that I had casted, and they stopped calling BS at that point. And in fact, some of the people that were calling BS were coming out and telling us their stories too, of the same area, the same lake, and hearing calls in the middle of the night from every peak that was around the lake, from every mountaintop. There's something to do with mountaintops too. It's almost like a cell tower for them, I guess. That's one thought, not a belief. That's a thought. But yeah, it breaks my heart that this area has been shut down because of private ownership. But we are still trying to get a hold of this owner, not bugging him or anything, but trying to, get him to, at least crack the door open and let us peek in, and see what's going on there, and see if, anything has happened since too. The town's been pretty quiet since then. I haven't heard much around town lately, so it's actually given me plenty of time for doing my online research and whatnot as well.
Miss Sherry could tell you a whole lot about mountains and tracking. She is her and her husband have just completely amazed me, along with her niece, Misty, is, from going out and bear hunting and just being able, driving down a dirt road, mountain road, 15 miles an hour, and then just spotting something standing out to them.
Yeah. My mom, she's got quite the knack for that, actually, because we'll be just driving down the road, pull over, there's a structure, and so we're okay, we're taking a detour, here we go. And oftentimes, I mean, there's a few times where she pointed out something where we had to go really look at it and discover it was just, something along the lines of windfall and nature and stuff like that. But oftentimes she has that eye that is just a sniper eye, like pinpoint accuracy right there. You'll find it on that hillside about 50 yards away or 50 miles away.
I drive Jim crazy with that stuff anymore. Well, but if we're driving along slow, just whatever, and I'm like, stop. Because usually I'm driving, but I just throw on the brakes. And that happened up where we hunt this past year. There was a new structure there when you first go in on the left, and I slammed the brakes on and jumped out of the truck and took off. I had a question. When you all find prints, Mitchell, do you usually find more than one or just like one print? Here
I've actually. So
we don't usually
after
find twice.
I find usually anywhere between 5 to 6 tracks in a cluster, and nowhere starting on the trail and just ends every time too. And pardon?
No, I was just going to say, we had that, we've all discussed that. Why do you think that happens? Where do you think you think they jump, they get in the trees and travel, or maybe get down on all fours with the knuckle prints, or what do you think?
I guess the surrounding area would explain that for you. Because there's a lot of eyewitness testimony that states, these tracks, they go out into an open field and then no more, as if they're still standing there, and it's stuff like that I can't explain. This is where the woo comes in, and all of a sudden you're jumping down a rabbit hole that is a maze. And you just don't know which direction to go now, because there's so many different avenues on what this could possibly be, what they could possibly be doing. Could it be like in the last episode we were talking about the Earth's energy and the magnetic force? Are they able to harness that sort of energy and use that as to assist their abilities? Or, are they going to a different reality? I don't know. Cause personally, my personal belief on the realities and stuff like that, I don't believe we're separate from any of them. I believe they're all here. We just perceive 3 dimensions, and that's what we claim we live in, is the third, or is in the third dimension. But I believe we live in many more dimensions, in such a way that, like, why is it that children are able to see things that us adults can't see? Ghosts, what if they're the 4th dimension? What if they're, I heard from somebody earlier today. I was talking with a coworker, and he said there was something about like 13 dimensions or something like that. But if we're living in all of them at once, then there's your explanation for why all of these strange new things keep happening and stuff. And then you start getting more and more into the woo side, and the woo side, for some reason, has a magnetic effect to the biblical side of things as well. And like I had stated in the last video in part 1, that Mr. Moorhead, he explains this beautifully with his Quantum Bigfoot, where he ties both of the worlds together and basically states it's not any different on either side of the fence here. So if all of the dimensions are here, you know, I don't think that they wouldn't have access to them as well. If they're capable of jumping to one, I guess they could be capable of jumping to another. If we're living in all of them anyway, and if they grew up understanding on how to manipulate the things around them and manipulate their reality around them, you know, we don't grow up like that. So this is something that just doesn't make sense to us. So we look for the explanation, and when we can't find the explanation, we just pin it with a name and call it good. Like, for instance, why is it my hand is made of the same chemicals as this desk right here, and the same molecule buildup, but whenever I put my hand on it, it doesn't pass through the desk? Why is that? Science has an explanation. You know what their explanation is? We don't know. So it's like back to square one again. Okay, if science can't even explain this, then how are we to believe that anything is not possible outside of science? So it's another one of those rabbit holes where you can keep digging and you'll never find the bottom.
Yeah. I guess one of the biggest rabbit holes for me, and it's because I have experienced it many times, is batteries going dead. When you know that they are fully charged, and then all of a sudden everybody's batteries go dead. You might have 8 instruments between your little group, and everybody's goes dead, but when you get back to camp, they were fully charged again. What in the world causes that? And it's something that we don't understand. And as a civilization, we have lost that to where they have not lost.
Yeah, a thought just popped into my mind, Mark. When that happened to you, were you by any chance near any structures?
There were structures all around, and what we were doing was following a trackway.
We had that happen once too, up the Gulf area there, and it had never happened before. I'd charged everything up, and the things that just took new batteries. I had put new batteries in the lights that we plug up, and Missy will tell you, we got there, and every time we tried to use something, the lights were dead. I put new batteries in the string lights, and they went dead again.
Yeah.
You talked to my team member Tanya about this type of stuff, and she was telling me about a lot of the research she's been doing on portals and whatnot, and she's looking into a lot of these structures, and if these structures have some sort of connection to each other, and maybe do some sort of like circle pattern or something like that, where if you walk into this circle, you're walking into like a gateway or something. But that's another one of those things I'm just not too sure of. I've experienced it quite a bit whenever I deal with paranormal investigation and exorcism as well. I actually had to exorcise one of the previous houses that I lived in, and in the process of doing it, I got attacked. Did I tell you folks I have a heart condition as well?
I think offline you have told me that.
Okay, so I've got this heart condition, and it causes palpitations really bad, and it causes fits of supraventricular tachycardia, and it pushes all the blood to my head, and out I go. I pass out, This happens whenever I get really excited and stuff like that. Now, I was as calm as could be doing this exorcism, and I do it in a clockwise pattern. I start out at the north end of the house, and I start in all the rooms, and I make a trail basically to where it all goes out the front door at the last final sweep. I basically kind of mop the whole area and leave a pathway for it to escape out of the house, whether it be a spirit or a demon. What I believed I was dealing with was a demon because it started messing with my heart. It had felt like somebody had grabbed it and was doing this really fast and stuff, and then would stop and then would just start messing with it again and stuff. And so I would have to take breaks during the exorcism to let my heart relax and drink some water and stuff. And finally it started getting so intense. I'm like, okay, I see the game here. You want to fight? Okay, I got you. And then I called in all the angels that I knew personally too, and I kicked it out of the house. And my wife was sitting out the front door with her friend Autumn at the time, and they had a flashlight in their hand. The second I opened the door and I told it to be gone, that flashlight, they're no more than 20 feet away from the doorway, that flashlight died the second I opened the door and said, go, get out of here and stuff. They'll tell you the same thing. It was trippy.
Wow. Okay, we got another video clip, and this one here is called Site Charlie Structure. And this is a structure that y'all found while y'all were out hunting for huckleberries. I've never seen a huckleberry, Mitchell. I've never seen one.
You haven't tried huckleberry? That is the
they
best
don't have
fruit
them
that
in my
has ever
part of
been
the
made.
woods.
Oh man, you've got to get up here. You've got to get up here just for the berries, man.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, we need to set up something where we could get together and go out and share a campfire.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, I'm gonna play this video now of the structure that y'all found.
Is a very interesting curved branch. So let's go take a look at that really quick. Okay, so first things first, I step into kind of a clearing area here. And right at the base, look at this. Look at that. Like my heart is pounding right now. Oh. Got some damage to the bark right here. That could be just regular peel, regular weathering. Oh my God. Look at this. It's been wrapped up and over and weaved to hold this branch. That is stuck. Oh my gosh. Look at that, it's twisted.
That was pretty cool.
Different.
Thank you for cutting around my family bickering at each other in the background there too. Oh, you're gonna hear Dad, or you're gonna hear my wife yell at me any second now. But yeah, that was still to this day the coolest structure that I've found. What do you guys make of that? Because I haven't been able to talk to many people about this one in particular, because I've never seen anything like it before, ever.
Not with all those breaks
neither
and
do you-
that one twist. I mean, but you see limbs up in the trees all the time, but not with all those odd breaks and things.
Yeah, and so this video was actually cut short. It's about a 25-minute video or so. I venture off back behind this structure because I started going down this trail and I was curious of, and it brought me to this area that I'm still reviewing the audio. I'm still reviewing everything on it because I feel like there's something about this place, because when I walked in there, it had such an energy about it that made you feel absolutely static. And the floor was so soft. You could, I mean, this is in the middle of a pine forest too, that floor is not soft out there, but in this area, it was a big circle area and it was lined with logs that bordered the area. And what was really strange about it is all the trees. So you have this log that was laying on the ground like so. Like so. And then you had branches that were growing up and like that over the top of it, like that, starting from the backside of the log, they would wrap over the log and then grow straight up. But it wasn't just one, it was like 30, 40 of them in one little cluster right here. They're all growing over this log and then branching off like that. In all the directions, you had things growing outward away from this place. And just walking through it, it wasn't like a disturbing type of feeling. It was more of like a heavy excitement that you just can't get rid of and stuff. And granted, yes, I understand that I had just come across that structure in the area, but I feel like this, from going from that structure to walking into this area, I feel like there's something about that area that this structure might have been like a marker for this area that we at Legacy have been calling high energy locations. These high energy locations, we've got a little list of all the tools that we're going to start buying, and Geiger counter is actually one of them. EMF detector, the audio recorders and stuff like that. We're going to go into these high energy areas and see if we are able to contact, spirits, or is this an area that's utilized by the forest people, or that could be utilized by the little people too. You never know. But our idea is to get all this equipment and bring it into these areas and figure out exactly what makes them tick and what are they for and stuff, and how are they used and stuff like that, because it's not the only area that we've come across that's like this. And I'm sure hunters have seen areas like this where they go into, they're going out on a hunt and they come into an area where it's like a circle and everything's just dead on the inside. But nothing was dead on the inside of this circle. In fact, everything was thriving in such a way, almost like that like we had discussed in the previous episode about the Earth's magnetic energy that gardeners were actually using to circle their gardens to excel growth and stuff. It's like this area didn't need the copper rods for that. This area, it was naturally pouring out of. So why is that? So that's another thing that we're looking into.
Did you count the breaks in that stick, Mitchell? How many breaks there actually were in it?
2, 3, I think. Was there 4? Was there 4 breaks?
Someone was just commenting, I can't remember now who it was, but about it looking almost like a hexagon. And I was just wondering how many breaks there were.
Yeah, it almost looked like a hexagon, but it only, so it's probably just 3 breaks then, because it only filled out the one side of it, leaned up against that tree. But still, it's like the tree's base is pointed that way and the top is pointed that way. And it's just, like,
it all
you don't see that. You don't see that. So I still don't know what to make of it. It's just so exciting.
Okay, we're going to get to this next video, and we're going to go into detail about it. And this is the sight golf close encounter where there was whistles. And this is something me and your mom was talking about today, and it's just cool stuff, and you can hear it happen. I know one thing: I need to send you a recorder, so that you can pick up things that are, a little further away, instead of just, whatever way that your phone's pointing. But this is really cool, and then we'll just break down these whistles. So I'm gonna go ahead and play it.
Did you hear that? Getting whistles. I hope I caught that. That branch has been twisted.
That was a thick branch too.
Did you hear that?
That's not you. I thought you were just whispering.
No. Whatever is whistling came from in here in the deep swamp. So I am not going in there after him.
And like I said, that bird that was just doing that, you don't hear it no more, right?
Yeah. You can tell something's been walking through here.
You can't really tell something's been this way.
Something's running.
Holy shit.
Something running.
I'm coming back this way, Mitch.
Yeah.
I heard that too. Okay, we're coming.
Yeah, it's time to go. Whatever that was.
Holy shit.
Yeah, something big just booked it through the brush right there. Okay, I'm gonna...
Freaking breaks it. Almost doesn't look natural. It looks like, oh, yeah.
Okay.
I looked at you real quick. I'm like,
Something literally just sprinted through that.
shit.
You got goosebumps? I'm just, let's go. I got all of that on camera. Yeah. Oh my gosh. All right. Yeah, that was pretty intense.
I apologize for the language. But I'm actually appreciative that you left that in there to show our reactions to what just happened right there, because after we had received the third whistle, I had stopped my video and stuff because he wasn't answering. And so I had to save my battery. I stopped my video for a second, and then after I clicked stop, he whistled right at me twice, like, yeah. Okay, so I clicked record, and then he stopped whistling all over again, and I'm like, you're doing that on purpose, man. Come on. And so I went up to where I heard the whistles come from, and that's when we came across that trail. And if you actually look on that video too, it almost looks like it's bipedal steps that are going through it too. It's like boom, boom, boom. It doesn't look like a single file line like what quadrupeds do when they walk through heavy foliage and stuff. And so as we came to that trail, we decided, all right, well, we ain't going any further, so let's just turn around. And when we turned around, you hear that stick snap. Well, Jamie had stepped on a stick. So what we imagined what was happening was this individual was no more than 30 feet from us into that like 9-10 foot tall grass right there. So we were thinking that he was hunkered down and he is either toying with us or something, but we had gotten too close at that point, and he was hunkered down waiting for us, listening to us right there, because we're not that far from him at this point. And when Jamie had stepped on that stick, he probably thought we were coming in after him, and that's why he took off sprinting right there. And then you hear in the background, you hear my father-in-law honk the horn from way off in the distance. That couldn't have happened at a better time, because we were both like, we got to go. That was a little too close and unexpected, way unexpected too. But I mean, there were actually 3 whistles in that video too. And the first whistle you actually hear in the full video at 24 seconds in. The second one you hear at 57 seconds in. And the final one you hear at 4 minutes and 28 seconds in. And they're going to be on YouTube. So that you guys can look up Legacy Discoveries and find these videos that we're presenting tonight, and be able to do your own research based off of them as well.
Very, very cool. I isolated these whistles because of being recorded off a phone. It's really hard to get it, but I took one of your whistles, because you were whistling in the same way that this,
I was
whatever
trying to
it was right.
Yes.
And so let's just look at one whistle of yours and one whistle from the unknown, and see what the difference is on the spectrogram.
Okay. Wow.
So
wow.
I want to just kind of say that I didn't want to increase the volume or lower your volume. I wanted to see what in actuality what it looked like on the spectrogram. And it's kind of hard to hear the unknown whistle, but you can go back on this podcast and you put on headphones and you'll be able to hear the unknown whistle better. And but it's really, really interesting to me that you like right here, you can actually see
Well,
the unknown whistle, and it is
So, wow.
it is totally different than a human whistle.
that's good knowledge. Like Mitchell's whistle started down and went upward on the scale, like, starting down longer, and that one barely moved on us like a
Right.
musical scale.
Right. And Miss Sherry,
So
that's
clean too.
yeah. Miss Sherry, that's what we see when we capture audio out in the field. And it looks that looks very, very similar to what we see, even as short as it was. But that's just really cool stuff to look at.
If I had an audio recorder on that camping trip at Echo, oh man, if I had that audio recorder, I would have had 30, 40 whistles recorded for you guys. This guy was a chatterbox, and not only him, but the one that he was with as well. Both of them were chatting me up through whistles. And it was, what was more crazy about it too is that I had heard of them whistling at people, but I'd never experienced the sort of whistle play back and forth. And last year at Medellin Falls, I got to meet a great new friend. His name's Jesus Payan. He's another researcher. He actually plays on as one of the characters on Breaking Bad. He's a really great guy. But he was showing me a video up in Medellin of down south where he researches, and he was having whistle talk, but it wasn't two. It had to have been like 5 of these individuals, all directions. He was whistling and they'd hit over there, behind him and stuff. And he was just aiming that camera frantically in all directions at all these whistles that were just volleying him, basically. And it blew my mind that this was actually something that had happened and stuff. I'm like, I can't, like, you were talking to them. You were talking to them. That is cool. That is something I would love to experience. And August came around and I finally got to experience it. And there's nothing like it. There's nothing like it, because growing up, well, not me personally. I knew growing up that they were out there the entire time. But, for the average person, they're not supposed to be real. And having a conversation with someone who's not supposed to be real it's something special, man. It is something so special. And I will never forget that day. I will never forget that day.
I was just talking to your mom, and so now I want to share one that she captured. And this is something that we went into great detail into looking at. And the backstory is that she was way up on a mountain in northern Idaho. And she had her window down, and she heard a very loud tree knock. So she stopped and she shut off her Jeep, and she waited a couple of minutes, and she made a black Cape chickadee call. and she got an immediate response. So she grabbed her phone and started recording. She wasn't able to stay up there long because she was on a switchback and of this little dirt road and didn't want somebody to come barreling around. Let me see what else she said. She said she actually, vocalized with them. She talked to them. She told them that she was getting ready to leave, but she would come back at another time. And she said the whistles increased so much that she got the impression that they were trying to get her to stay. And it's almost eerie to listen to these as much as they were whistling back. Let's see what else. Well, I'll go ahead and pull it up, and we'll just let you hear it for yourself.
How fun.
That was weird. Some of those whistles.
They're real good at mimicking birds over here. I don't know if you guys have experienced that, but that sort of whistle that they do, we have a red-winged blackbird around here, and it sounded something along the lines of that red-winged blackbird and the black-cape chickadee, but in between the two.
It was like it was doing two notes at one time, though.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So this actually has me jumping down 30 different rabbit holes right now of their vocal patterns and stuff, because through even Mr. Moorhead's research and the speech of the Sierra Sounds, you hear them using things in their speech that the human vocal cords is not capable of. Not whatsoever capable of. So they're going on a much lower spectrum and a much decibel and a much higher decibel than what we can do. And what's weird is they can do it at the same time, like they're speaking with two different voice boxes. And
that's
stuff.
what I can say. Like they've got double vocal cords.
Yes. Or the Norwegians like to call it the sporge note, it's the unexisting note. But that was another.
You can't humanly do that. You can't make two notes at the same time.
Nope.
Yeah. Some Miss Diane has asked us to play it again, so let's just play this again.
How fun.
That one spot there were two different. Is it gone?
Go ahead.
That one spot there were two different ones doing the double whistle.
what's so wild too is like, so we've already covered the possibility of their vocal range and stuff being way greater than ours. But also, oh gosh, it was right on the tip of my tongue. Okay. I'm sorry. Everything just.
It'll get worse as you get older.
Yeah.
Trust me.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh,
Especially when
gosh,
your mind
dang.
goes as fast as mine does.
I get so excited about things, and I open up doors and I close them behind me before I can even think about what door I went through, you know?
Yeah.
But
Quit trying, they'll
yeah.
come to you.
So yeah, so the vocal range, so it makes me wonder how they're using their mouth to whistle these notes as well. Because I mean, you can use your vocals as part of a whistle. One of my favorite movies, Dumb and Dumber, you know, tractor beam sucked me right in, you know. You can use your vocals with a whistle, but at the I am nowhere near good enough to copy a bird like that, and nor do I have the bass in my voice in order to hit that low note and the high whistle at the same time. It just doesn't work. So it makes me wonder exactly how they're doing it, because it could be through their vocals, or it could be with their mouth, or it could be both. You know, you just never know.
Well, that's evidence for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. We got one last video, and it is called Psych Golf Hut Examination. And this is the first hut that y'all discovered. And let me get it pulled up, and we'll play the video, and then we'll let you give us the backstory on it.
I found a hut. Structure in the back, big X. Like, this is a big one. That is nuts. Right here. See an impression right here. Looks like it's rounded, coming out this way. I see an impression right here. Yeah, you see this? I think I might have an impression right here. This is nuts. This is so cool. And then back over here, Jamie, we got a big old X. Got a crow feather. Yeah, I've been pushed into the ground. Okay. Whoa, 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 whoa. I just heard somebody talking. Aho, koala! Niteziki taka huo! I'm getting like really anxious all of a sudden. Oh, you just walked in there.
You should see this, bitch.
I don't know if you should be in there, Mom.
I'm not all the way in. I'm just.
Here, take the camera.
See, look, they got this one here.
Oh, whoa.
Just hanging there. There's all this.
It's actually weaved.
It's all weaved in here.
That is so cool.
And then there's one little lonely branch hanging.
I'm getting really anxious. anxious, though. I feel like we're not supposed to be in there.
I'm not, but that's why I stopped when we got here and I...
Crow feather. That would look great on my hat, but I don't have any tobacco. This might just be fall right here. We got a bunch of little widowmakers in the area.
It was pretty wild.
Oh. Yeah, there's a lot that happened right there in that video too. When I had my back to the hut structure, you hear me say it. I mentioned like I just feel anxious all of a sudden, and it was just this overwhelming feeling all of a sudden of just, you need to leave. You need to get out of my house and you need to leave. You're not welcome here right now. Like, too close, man. You know, back off. It is all of these thoughts just rushing into my head, and like my heart had kicked up and stuff, and I started palpitating, and I'm just like, could not shake that feeling. So I turned around and Jamie's in the front door, and I'm like, okay, that's clear. That's clear to me right now. They just told me, okay, we need, like, don't go in there, you know, like, don't go in there and stuff, you know, document what we can, but we've been asked to leave. So let's be respectful and do that. And so we ended up, well, Jamie, she took the phone and she, you know, did that panoramic view on the inside, but she never went in to the structure. But I feel like we still got too close right there, and we ended up disrespecting it. So at the end of this video, we ended up, after the video had ended, we ended up giving an offering of tobacco and saying we were sorry for crossing that path or crossing that line with them. And we have no negative intentions with them whatsoever. We're just there to strictly learn, and you know, we're friends. We're friends. We're not trying to be anybody imposing by any means, but we still want to know as much as we can find out. So the talking, I've run it through the audio over and over again, and I still can't pick anything up. So that might have been something more of it could have been an echo. It could have been, you know, could have been really anything. It could have even been imagination too. There was so much excitement going on. But I have not been able to track if there was actual speech happening at this location. But what you guys do see me is respond to what I believe is talk. And the way that we respond, since we're finding tribal words, and specifically Lakota words in their language, we're attempting to talk with them in Lakota to see if we can get any sort of response out of them that way, and maybe strike up an actual conversation. That would be cool. That's the idea, but they still have remained quiet towards us when it comes to the chatter. Whistles is really all we get. Actually, the last video that Mom had posted of the whistles, she had told me that after she had stopped the phone and began driving off, that's whenever one of them actually vocalized at her. But it wasn't a word. It was more of a huh and stuff. And it got her to hit her brakes and kind of wait for something else again, but nothing happened after that. So then she continued on. But as far as vocals go, the closest that we could ever come to any of that evidence actually doesn't even belong to us. This evidence belongs to Sasquatch Sisters, and they've done a terrific job of being able to track these vocalizations that happen here in the Hoodoo Valley. This valley is so immense, which is why I'm comfortable with stating it's not the direct location, it's the area. And it might as well be another Bermuda Triangle with how much stuff happens here. It's not just Sasquatch that we're coming across here. We have people that say that they've got little people that live under their house and have been messing with them. We've got people that have seen skinwalkers. We've got, I saw a UFO not 3 weeks ago or so, and it was just right over the house right here, and it headed on down towards the next town. And I actually verified that with a coworker the next day at work, because he said he saw something weird in the sky, and we live in the same town. And I described it to him before he had actually said anything to me. We've even got witness accounts of the unmentionables that the Bible states as chimera. That I believe is the only word that I'm allowed to use for them. But yeah, this whole area it's a hot zone for God knows what, because it seems like everybody around the corner is witnessing something different. And so yeah, it's offered quite the research location.
Mitchell, Donna asked, were there any smells, the areas where you had the vocals and things? Did you have any smells since?
Not where we were getting vocalizations, except for, well, I guess the whistles during that camping trip on the last episode that we were covering. You could smell them then, and it still smelled like that sweet, pungent body odor that was, it wasn't even like a mixed with a wet dog or anything. It smelled like somebody didn't take a shower and they went to the gym, and that's what it smelled like. It was just like, go wash yourself, man, that stinks. But the smell is quite frequent. We've witnessed it in multiple areas. Site Delta, Site Echo, Site Golf have all had these smells, and I think Foxtrot as well. I'm not too sure. I'm gonna have to ask Mom about that, because Foxtrot is actually the location of the tree branch that was hooked like that, and the video of my mother's whistles as well. That's Site Foxtrot.
That's so interesting. I guess we are out of time. Is there? I want to give you a chance, Mitchell, to talk about anything that you want to talk about. You just started your YouTube channel. And
yes, sir.
So I will pin a link at the top of this video that y'all can go to tomorrow. And I encourage everybody to subscribe. What a great team this is in Idaho, and what we can learn from them, and what they can learn from us. That's the whole purpose of doing these podcasts, is sharing things that will help us connect the dots. So I'll just give you a few minutes to talk about anything that you want to talk about, and please talk about your new YouTube channel.
Absolutely. So so I just started a YouTube channel last night. You guys can look it up. It's at Legacy Discoveries. You'll see you'll see this logo, except for the team captain. That's just for me. That's my specialty. But but these videos are all going to be provided. So we're going to slowly start trickling in the evidence that we've been accruing over the past year. And so, and they will be labeled as Legacy Discoveries property. But we encourage everybody who has this curiosity and is researching themselves. If you guys would like to look into our videos and you guys would like to do your own audio checks on it, your own screens and stuff like that. I don't know all the correct terms. I'm not tech savvy, but if you folks would like to look into these videos and do your own research, I encourage you to do it because so long as you recognize that these are property of Legacy and you work with us respectfully, we absolutely encourage whatever you would like to do with them. Just let us know. Also, if you guys would like to join the hunt, well, no, hunt is a bad word. We're going to get rid of that right now and retrace that. If you guys would like to join the search for the truth, you guys can get on Facebook and you can look up either Legacy Discoveries page that's mediated by myself, my wife, and my mother, Angelique. Or you can also get on the Legacy Discoveries Research Division, where we are accumulating evidence from all over the country. And this is actually regulated by our dear friend, Dan Nedrolo. And Dan has been doing a magnificent job of doing the comparison from West Coast to East Coast and from North to South as well, and figuring out exactly what the similarities are and what the differences are, and to help people actually understand what they're dealing with and what kind of encounters that they're having. This is a place where you can go and you can become part of you can get in on the search if you want to, and you can post in your evidence, say where it happened, what happened. Well, not where, keep that to yourself unless if it's private. You don't want to publicize these locations, and you want to keep everything safe for both them and for outer spectators as well, because a lot of the times what us researchers don't mention is how dangerous this can actually be. And it can be dangerous at times as well. You're dealing with a person who is a person. A person is unpredictable, and these people have super strength, super capabilities and stuff, and they could easily snap you like a twig if you push them to that limit. And don't do that. But wrapping things up, there is one final note that I did want to get to here. And I think our dear friend Mel Scahan covered it beautifully in A Flash of Beauty. And that is that we believe them to be the purest form of humans. And the reason why is because you start looking into the differences between our society and their society, and understand how we got here was through where you're standing right now. Everything that has been accomplished around you by human hands has been accomplished through greed and arrogance and self-righteousness. Our entire world is built off of these three things. And it comes down to this: if we remove these three things from ourselves, greed, arrogance, and self-righteousness, what are you left with? If you eliminate greed, you eliminate your roads, you eliminate your transportation, you eliminate your grocery stores even, you eliminate everything at that point, and you are left naked, standing in nothing but a woodland world. How different are we really from them? that is the note that I would like to end on. And I thank you guys so much for having me on for a second time. This has been such a pleasure and so exciting being able to finally be able to share these videos and share the evidence that Legacy has been coming across. We've got so much more that's coming. That we're going places, and it's taking off so fast. I gotta hang on with both hands because it's flying by right now, and we're having so much fun with it. So if you guys are ever trying to get a hold of us, please be patient, because this is something that we're all very new to. We didn't realize we were going to get this sort of response, and it's the exact response that we wanted to get to, was all this support and the ideas that we have on trying to recognize them as people and try to recognize them nationally. This is the big goal, but to recognize them nationally as America's last free Rome tribe. And if we were to at least do that, then, you know, I feel like that's going to be a huge set in stone for them, much like the court trial that took place back in, I believe, 2012, where it became an actual felony in the state of Washington to hunt a Sasquatch. And this was actually in unison with Columbia as well. So thank you to those folks that have made that possible. It's only helped that much more. The less aggression that we impose, the better reactions, the better responses, and the better the evidence, and the better the relationship. And that's what it's all about, is being a good neighbor.
Man, how do you add to that? Miss Sherry, do you have any final words?
No, I just really enjoyed it. We got some topics that haven't been touched, and that was really good. You know,
thank you both very much.
Anytime I can learn something, it's a good show.
You're going to be writing in that book tonight, aren't you?
I'm scribbling everywhere.
Are you writing a book, Sherry?
No, I just.
Are you writing an actual book?
No. I just have a lot of books with information that I've learned from everyone and everything. And like when we go out.
That's good, though. That's good. That's good.
It is when your mind's getting bad.
Yeah. Well, I want to thank everybody for tuning in. It's such a joy to hear about what Legacy Discoveries is doing out there. And like I said, make sure you go and you subscribe, and let's support them. I'll put the link in the comment section, and so you can just click on it. I don't think Mitchell will charge you a cent for subscribing.
Hey, they've already been subscribing. Everybody's talking about in the chat. I already have too.
Hey, we're a nonprofit organization, and the door is wide open.
Before we go, if you tuned in a little later tonight, I touched on some things at the beginning of the show, and I'm not going to go back into that. But if you tuned in a little later, then I would really appreciate that you just go back and you listen to the first 5 minutes, because as Mitchell was talking about property and being respectful of somebody's property, it kind of touches on that. And I think that will help different people in different groups to get along, and for different groups to be respectful of different groups. And so I guess that's all we have. We want to thank everybody for tuning in, and we will see everybody in a couple of weeks. Night, footers.
Night.
If you would like to support Beast TV, check out our gear. We have coffee mugs, face masks, gaiters, shirts, and tank tops. The link is pinned at the top of the comment section. Everything is always marked down 20%. So come check out our junk.
This has been a Sawdust production.